Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Well, it's so interesting. Clearly, Bheki Cele's people do follow loving life. And hi guys, good to have you subscribing to the channel. Well, since I posted that remark that Bheki Cele on his own South African government profile, it refers to him only having a teacher's diploma. That has now been removed. No educational qualifications are now shown on Bheki Cele's profile on the official South African government site, where once it used to proudly proclaim that he had a teacher's diploma. Now remember, he is the Minister of Police in South Africa. Let's have a look at the image. Now the red circle in that image is where it used to say that he had a teacher's diploma. That was up until just a couple of days ago. But it's gone! It's gone! I wonder why. Well, okay, so we now know that Bheki Cele, who is in charge of the police service in South Africa, has a teacher's diploma, but it's now been hidden. What about the Minister of Defense in South Africa? Well, this is where it gets really, really disturbing. Mapisa-Nqakula. Well, she is the Minister of Defense in South Africa. She looks after your South African National Defense Service. And the pinnacle of her academic career is, believe it or not, and they haven't taken it off yet, and this time I've actually scanned the page and I'm going to show you the page. The pinnacle of her academic success is, like Bheki Cele, a teacher's diploma. I kid you not. Let's have a look at that. Now, I'm going to show you from the website of the basic education page for South Africa, where it tells you how you can become a teacher. Now, we talked about a teacher's diploma. I'm going to show you this page where you can see that a teacher's diploma is not for people in junior school or for high school. No. We'll get to that in a second. Let me show you the page from the official basic education site where they give you the qualifications for a teacher who can teach people up to grade 12 in South Africa. Well, there you have it from their own page. If you want to be a teacher in junior or high school, you have to have a degree. So, what value has a teacher's diploma got? Remember that the man running the police service, Bheki Cele, only has a teacher's diploma. And the woman running the defense force in South Africa only has a teacher's diploma. if you have a teacher's diploma in South Africa, you can look after primary school kids. That's it. That's where the cutoff is. You can look after primary school kids. Now, running South Africa's two key crime prevention arms in South Africa are two people who only have a teacher's diploma. Is it any wonder that the Defence Force and the police are in such a mess? And just to add to this, there's a report that's come out which relates to the Minister of Defence. And I'll tell you what it says. At a time when the country is desperate for leadership in the face of crisis following the failed insurrection that left more than 200 people dead and set back the country's economy, President Cyril Ramaphosa's security cluster ministers have waged a tit-for-tat blame game while failing to reassure the nation of its safety amidst the uncertainty. The political battle for survival has brought back to the fore battles of factions and seniority that have plagued the party, exposing the fractures that have seeped into cabinet. The failure by Ramaphosa's government to protect the nation's security has seen fresh calls from within the ANC and externally for him to go, for him to not reshuffle his whole cabinet, but fire some ministers and appoint those that will execute his vision for the country. Well, when you've got two ministers holding teachers' diplomas in key areas of security who obviously don't have an extremely high IQ and are obviously completely out of their depth, what can you expect when you see what's happening in South Africa today? Let's continue. Ramaphosa. Now, Ramaphosa picked a cabinet that appeased the African National Congress factions as he tested his strength after the party's Nasrec elective conference that produced a deeply divided ANC. Despite vacancies, he has not changed his cabinet. Now, think about it. Ramaphosa knows that these two key people in these very, very critical times are totally out of their depth academically in doing what they're supposed to do, and yet it's okay. It gets better. As Ramaphosa tries to piece together what went wrong and plan better should there be a resurgence, Ramaphosa has had to deal with the embarrassment of his most senior cabinet minister openly contradicting him. Defence Minister, the one with the teacher's diploma, Ms Mapisa-Nqakula, was quoted as saying there was no evidence of an attempted insurrection. Ramaphosa labelled the violence, which included riots, destruction of property and the widespread looting of malls, as an insurrection and an attack on the South African Constitution. Mapisa-Nqakula has since backtracked, saying that the media decided to spread the issue. The visibly irritated Mapisa-Nqakula told journalists over the weekend, "I am being portrayed as an irresponsible young girl. I think I'm senior enough. I'm politically mature enough to appreciate that there are things you cannot play around with. One of those is the situation we are finding ourselves in." Now, I would like to add that and suggest that the real problem here is that you are blatantly incompetent, and the old L factor and the old IQ factor are missing in action when it comes to you being the Minister for Defence. And just to give you a bit of a pardon, you are no worse than the Shladi Mutseneng of Ramaphosa's ministry, which is, of course, Bheki Cele, also a man touting around his teacher's diploma as if it gave him PhD qualifications. What a joke. Anyway, let's continue. Nqakula, or Mapisa-Nqakula, said, "I am here. I'm working very hard like everybody else, and when the time comes, of course, I will then leave KwaZulu-Natal and continue to serve if the ANC wants me to serve." Her parting shot that she will serve if the ANC wants me to serve has riled some of her comrades, some interpreting it as a veiled signal to the ongoing battle for control of the ANC ahead of what is expected to be a tumultuous elective conference next year. As Mapisa-Nqakula speaks to her seniority, those defending her within the ANC's National Executive Committee were also quick to show her up against her boss, Ramaphosa, reciting her struggle credentials that included military training, being a member of the party's military wing, Umkhonto weSizwe, or MK, and her time in exile. She found support from those who backed suspended ANC Secretary-General Ms Mapisa-Nqakula. An NEC member said, "There's nothing about Ramaphosa being a soldier, just Nosiviwe is, and is better trained, thus she understands what's happening better." The NEC member also defended another former MK member, State Security Minister Ayanda Dlodlo, who has been dominating headlines over her spat with Police Minister Bheki Cele. Dlodlo insisted that the State Security Agency gave the South African Police Service intelligence timelessly, warning of the violence that had erupted. But of course, teaching diploma Bheki Cele is on the record of saying he had no idea this was going to happen. Well, when you can't open up a children's book and read it, what do you expect? He has no understanding. Once again, logic and IQ missing in action, and he is the police minister in South Africa. Crazy. Cele told Parliament's Portfolio Committee sitting in KwaZulu-Natal that he never received this security advice about coming troubles. He indirectly dared Dlodlo to provide evidence that he indeed received the information. Cele said to members of the Parliament, "When you received products or intelligence information of state security, you sign, you go check my signature there. I want to end there on that one." Those supporting Ramaphosa have defended Cele, who is largely seen as loyal to Ramaphosa after he helped deliver him ANC votes from KwaZulu-Natal for his party presidency. That's why he's there. Nothing to do with his ability to be police minister. There's no meritocracy in the ANC ministry. It's all about jobs for the boys, regardless of whether they've got a teacher's diploma or a PhD. Insiders claim that ANC internal politics continue to get in the way of Ramaphosa's cabinet doing its job, and with those who served the party in exile undermining his leadership. One minister who did not want to be identified said, "They think they are more senior than him and know better just because they served in exile and he didn't." Another ANC insider said that it must be Dlodlo and Mapisa-Nqakula who must face the chop. Nosiviwe must go, said a supporter of the president. Those two must be fired. They messed up. How did Ayanda fail to see this coming? Has she given the proper explanation? While they all bicker, the country still does not know what the details of Dlodlo's intelligence was, if indeed she warned timelessly with usable and specific intelligence. Did Cabinet discuss what would be the South African Police Service's operational response, and did they believe it was adequate? Well, of course, what you've got here is a bunch of children in the kindergarten, in the playground, playing around with little bits and pieces, because that is their mentality. And these are the guys who are supposed to be looking after your well-being. Think about it. Well, Mapisa-Nqakula also told journalists she had clarified her comments before the National Joint Operational and Intelligence Structure, or NATJOINTS, which brings together the South African Defence Force, SAPS, and the SSA. Another insider said that the Defence Minister missed an opportunity to publicly clarify her position, forcing then Acting Minister in the Presidency, Kumbutsu Ntshavheni, to throw her under the bus by echoing Ramaphosa's views as government's position. Mapisa-Nqakula, Dlodlo and Cele are part of the security cluster, all with their teacher diplomas. Isn't that amazing? Ah! But insiders say there is a mistrust and are doubtful that a coherent plan will emerge. However, the president is also said to be meeting with the directors general for status reports. While Ramaphosa's foes want him out of the union buildings, his supporters argue that he now has the majority support of the NEC and he can go ahead and rearrange his cabinet. The litmus test for control of the NEC was the reflection of a new person to the ANC's National Working Committee to replace the late Jackson Ntembu. The faction that supported suspended Magashule nominated Dlodlo, but she lost by a huge margin to Gwen Ramagopa. At the time, those who did not support Dlodlo's bid said that they felt that she was too conflicted and struggled to figure out where she stood between two warring factors. After Mapisa-Nqakula contradicted the president, her name suddenly started doing the rounds within the ANC circles as a possible contender for the party's top 6 at the 2022 elective conference. You gotta absolutely be blown away by the genius of this ANC government. Yeah, put another person with a teacher's diploma in as one of the top 6 running the country. Wow. That is sheer genius. Anyway, let's continue. It is understood that those close to the president and cabinet believe that the recent violence was created to frustrate Ramaphosa's out of the office, which with some saying that the failure to contain the violence was on him and that he must step aside. One of the president's detractors said, "This is worse than Marikana. It's 5 times worse. He must go." The ANC leader claims that Ramaphosa called the unrest an insurrection to cover his own back, accusing him of failing to account. The ANC insider continued, "This is a man who makes too many promises. Last week was about the broken promises. People are frustrated. They remain poor, yet he has made promises about Eskom, about jobs. None of these have been delivered on." With Deputy President David Mabuza said to be still out of the country for medical treatment in Russia. Well, who would blame anyone from trying to get out of a hospital in South Africa? They're death traps. And if you got the money and the political clout like Deputy President David Mabuza, of course you're going to go to another country to get real medical attention. Anyway, let's continue. Insiders have said that Ramaphosa is unlikely to reshuffle before the return of David Mabuza. So there you go, guys. I mean, the whole point of this video is that the 2 key people, the police minister and the Minister of Defence, their highest academic qualifications is teaching diplomas. You know where they should be, rather than actually trying to run a huge security aspect in the country? They should be teaching a class of 12 primary school children. That's their qualifications. No wonder South Africa is in such a mess. Please remember to subscribe to Loving Life on YouTube to be kept informed. Please remember to register on lovinglifetv.com, the platform we are transitioning to. Please like this video, please share this video, and above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.